Internet folks, I want to greet them and say, glad you're here. Thanks, Merry Christmas. We just had some pizza and party time, and everybody's still eating. So if they talk later and it sounds a little mushy, you'll know why. Or it's just me, the way that I talk. So anyway, we're glad that you're with us. We're going to be doing step 12. I know we started a little late than normal, and because we had the party. And anyway, we're going to try to maybe have a kind of a little bit of a condensed meeting, and hopefully be beneficial to everybody. But I want to say that step 12 is a really good step to have now at the holiday season. Our topic that Tommy selected for today, at least one of the selections, was, sharing together. And one of the things I'm going to be sharing is why sharing stories bring people together. There is neurological studies been done on how story affects not only your brain, but the brain of those people that hear the story. And it changes the brain. And we'll be talking more about that. In fact, they even say that the brain of the storyteller and the brain of the hearer can become synchronized. And that's the reason why step 12, and Tommy has asked the question several times, why should we tell our story? And one of the reasons why is because if we tell a story that is compelling, it not only we're affected, but it also affects the hearer of the story. And in fact, there's other research, not in what I'm going to share tonight, but even when people take your story and then pass it on, it affects the people. So it's a powerful way that has been used throughout time, right? So I've kind of already got into my thing that I'm going to be talking about later, but now I don't have to talk about that, right? Right? So, anyway, should I do this? Are you interested in me in reading some symptoms of addiction?
Sure.
I have one.
Yes.
Okay, all right.
Brand auction or something.
All right. Do what?
Like brand auction.
Yeah, I can skip it.
No, go for it.
Okay, this is the section where I do the questions, quotes, and comments, and I found this and I thought I'd just put that into this part of the meeting if everybody's interested, or at least enough of you is interested. So we have 3 people that was interested. So is that enough?
4.
4. Okay, 4. All right, 4 is enough. 5. All right. Who'll give me 6? All right, there it is. Man, we're going. All right, there's 6.5. Oh no.
I'm not medicating, sir.
Okay, signs of addiction, and this is according to, I believe it was, I think it was off. I really like using Psychology Today stuff and some others that are related to that. I think it was off Psychology Today, I'm not sure. I usually try to have that down here. But anyway, some symptoms. And probably you might be aware of them, maybe not in yourself, but maybe in other people, right?
Right.
Hello? And inability to stop. You familiar with that one? A change in mood and appetite and in sleep. Any of that sound familiar? We had one nod out of the group.
No.
Okay, all right. Continuing despite negative consequences. Nobody's aware of that one, right? Denial, right? And that's not it's not the river, okay? It's that we're denying reality and that, I don't have a problem. It's everybody else that's got the problem, right? Again, these are potential symptoms of addiction. Engaging in risky behavior.
Yep.
I didn't mean to look at you there, Zach.
Maybe it's not risky behavior.
Maybe it's just ornery, and that ornery behavior is not risky.
Maybe it's monkey can be.
Could be.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, engaging in ornery, risky behavior. Feeling preoccupied with the substance or behavior. Preoccupied, something that swallows up all your time, resources, energy, always on your mind. It wakes up before you do and stays awake after you go to sleep if you can. You probably know somebody maybe like that, maybe. Are you listening out there in TV land? Okay, let's hurry on. You guys are making me go way too slow. I gotta have somebody to blame, right? Nothing like denial. All right, so legal and financial problems.
Yep.
Losing interest in other things you used to enjoy.
Yeah. Right.
Narrowing your life focus, right? That's things, people, Why? Because something else has picked you up and carried you away, right? Putting the substance or behavior ahead of other parts of your life, including family, work, and other responsibilities. I'm not going to ask you to raise your hand on that, but we probably are aware of that. Secrecy is the next symptom. Secrecy, secrets. Your is your secrets. Hiding and lying. Anybody familiar with any of that?
Yeah. Definitely.
Nope.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Using increasingly larger amounts of substances.
What?
Yeah, that's a symptom. That's a symptom.
Well, if the original amount worked, then you wouldn't have to.
Yes, that's a point, but that's not the way it works.
It is the way it works. And then you die. That is the way it works.
Well, you keep bumping it up. It's like I'll do a little bit and save the rest for as soon as I get done doing a little bit.
If there was quality control,
You just go, right?
That's right.
He has a really good point.
What?
There's some quality control in this stuff that we find on the street.
Yeah, you wouldn't have to do that much.
Yeah.
Just have to do expect.
It's guys. There's guys on the street with lights on their car that does help in that area.
Oh, yeah. I don't know what it
There's
is.
guys with lights and a bike.
Okay, all right. Although they're kind of backing off a little bit, if you know what I mean. And so, really, and actually, your point here is really, and sometimes our influence in other people's lives can help them,
Yeah.
right? Because somebody helped us at one point, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what step 12 is about. All right, let's see. Got two more. Taking more of the, that's it. Taking more of the substance than you intended.
No,
I always intended to take that much.
Well, if it's
Maybe.
really good, you forgot you took it.
exactly.
I'm helping too much.
That's, these are symptoms, and then, of course, some of the answers we're getting over here kind of,
Confirmation.
Okay.
Not that I would know.
yeah. Merry Christmas, everyone. And so, withdrawal symptoms. Anybody? Those are very challenging. But the fact of it is, I used to know a fellow that said that every time he decided he was going to stop drinking, for some strange reason, he always came down with his flu. But he never had a problem with drinking.
He did.
Drinking got rid of it.
Yeah, well, those were some of the side effects of his stuff. So anyway, all right. I want to go ahead and hit this. We're going to be talking about love and how love works. and the way that we love. Are you all familiar with the 5 different methods of loving? Okay. All right. Dr. Gary Chapman wrote a book, and it was on your 5 love languages. And I'm just going to give them to you. I'm not going to talk about them. We may talk about them later in the future, but it kind of ties in with some of the step information that Tommy's going to be talking about. And these 5 different languages either is the way that you give love or your ability to receive love, and everybody kind of falls into these broad categories, whether we realize it or not. At least one or more of them. And the languages are words of affirmation, okay, quality time, receiving gifts, acts of service. Some people, that's the only way that, they only feel love when they have acts of service for them. And sometimes we only want to give love in our particular love language. And if we're trying to love in our way to somebody that has a different language, then we're speaking a different language to them, and there's not really a love connection. Does that make sense?
Yep.
And the 5th one is the 5th one is physical touch. There are some people that's the only way they feel that they're in love, but I'm sure you know some people that that's not the way they feel love. In fact, if they're touched, they repel or recoil. So anyway, just some thoughts on that part. And we have our bracelets, and for you, some of you here, and especially for you out there in internet land, we have these clean time bracelets, and we celebrate your clean time, whether your clean times from alcohol, drugs, behaviors, whatever it is that you're working on recovering from, because this Saturday night is about life recovering, because we all have to recover from life. Substances and behaviors is just part of that life. Does that make sense? So we have bracelets, white bracelets, just for today, up to 30 days. And if you have one of these, Doug over here will pass out bracelets if you want one. Orange bracelets for 30 days, green bracelets 60 days, maroon bracelets 90 days, blue bracelets 6 months, yellow is 9 months, glow in the dark is 1 year, gray is 18 months, black is 2 years or more, silver is 5 or more, gold is 10 or more. And so
What about 50?
that goes into the or more area. And so, see how that works out? And so, but thank you for asking the question. And so, anyway, if you like a bracelet, just raise your hand. Doug will get you one. Okay, we got some, okay. But we're just glad that you're here. We're glad you're taking a bracelet. And you out there in video land, if you want a bracelet, hey, come and we'll get you one here, or let us know and we'll mail you one. Because we want to celebrate your clean time, we want to encourage you, and we want to inspire you to keep going, okay? All right, so let's get to reading the 12 steps, and here's Willie.
All right, Sandy. Yeah, buddy.
5 years or more?
4 years. Make sure you got the right guy.
We admit that we were powerless and our problems in our lives had become unmanageable. We came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity.
What's under 5?
We made a decision to turn our wills and our lives over to the care
Hang on a second. Hey guys, we need to watch our voices.
No.
Doug,
5 or more.
What's that?
we need to watch our voices.
Oh,
I'm
Yes,
sorry.
sir.
I forgot wrong.
what?
We made a searching and fearless moral inventory of our life, ourselves. We admitted to God, to ourselves, and another human being exact natures of our own. We were entirely ready to have God remove these defects of character. We humbly asked God to remove our shortcomings We made a list of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. We made direct amends to such people whenever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. We continued to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. We sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God, praying for knowledge and His will for us and the power to carry it out. Having a spiritual awakening as results of these steps, we tried to carry this message to others and practice these principles in all our affairs.
Thanks, Willie. Very good.
Good photo. You go, girl.
Yeah, go, girl.
Go, girl.
Oh,
That's funny.
Yeah,
I love you, to you.
No, my friend Kevin, he always calls me and he goes, "What's up, girl?"
oh, right.
Sharing together. It's the right one, right?
Got
It better.
Hey, you wanna know what I did?
Make this?
Do it.
Well, Doug goes, "You're doing this one, right?" No, I said, "We're doing this one, right?" And he says, "No, I thought you were doing this one." So I took this one, this one, and mixed it with that one's questions,
Yeah.
All right, we'll get it.
answered those questions,
You got it.
and then I fixed it.
Tell me about that.
I hope this might come out right.
Thank you.
Thank you, yeah. You guys out there too. Hey, sharing together, there's scriptures, John 15, starts at verse 5. And this is in the NLT for Doug. "Yes, I am the vine, you are the branches. Those who remain in me, and I in them, will produce much fruit, for apart from me, you can do nothing. Anyone who does not remain in me is thrown away like a useless branch and withers. Such branches are gathered into a pile to be burned. But if you remain in me, and my words remain in you, you may ask for anything you want, and it will be granted. When you produce much fruit, you are my true disciples. This brings great glory to my Father. I have loved you, even as the Father has loved me. Remain in my love. When you obey my commandments, you remain in my love. Just as I obey my Father's commandments and remain in his love, I have told you these things so that you will be filled with my joy. Yes, your joy will overflow. This is my commandment. Love each other in the same way I have loved you. There is no greater love than to lay down one's life for one's friend. You are my friends if you do what I command. I no longer call you slaves, because a master does not confide in his slaves. Now you are my friends, since I have told you everything the Father told me. You didn't choose me, I choose you. I appointed you to go and produce lasting fruit, so that the Father will give you whatever you ask for using my name. This is my commandment, love each other. I couldn't stop at 15.
Yeah,
I had to finish it.
I would too.
Because it says go to 15, and I had to go to 17, because I was like, man, that kind of just, wait, I want to hear the rest. I want to share the rest of it, you know? Having had a spiritual awakening as the results of these steps, we try to carry this message to others, to practice these principles in all our affairs. Since we have worked through the 12 steps, we are in a special position to carry the message to others. We can recognize the warning signs of addictive, compulsive tendencies in those around us, as well as in ourselves. When touching On such deep and sensitive issues, it is important to speak in the language of love, not condemnation. The Bible tells us that if someone is overcome by sin, you who are godly should gently and humbly help that person back onto the right path, and be careful not to fall into the same temptation yourself. So share each other's burdens, and in this way obey the law of Christ. That's Galatians 6:1-2. The command was the one Jesus taught the disciples. So now I'm giving you a new commandment: love each other just as I have loved you. You should love each other. John 13:34. This is my commandment: love each other in the same way I have loved you. There is no greater love than to lay down one's life for one's friend. We are not the Savior, but we can leave others. We can love others as He has loved us. Love goes beyond mere words. Sometimes it is spoken in silence. When we don't condemn someone who comes to us looking for help, love doesn't just tell them what the problems are. It helps carry the weight of their burdens. We can be part of a support network to help carry our friends until they're able to take steps toward recovery on their own initiative. I was thinking, I don't know if this even makes sense. I'm just gonna read what it says here. It's like a riddle to me, just looking at it.
And you wrote it, right?
Yeah. I woke up in the middle of the night and wrote it.
All right.
I was half asleep. All right, I'm half asleep right now. No, I'm just kidding. It says, and say that the Spirit, it says read the step again. Having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we try to carry this message to others and to practice these principles in all our affairs. That says that the spiritual awakening that I'm seeing is that I'm seeing the message of the people around me and their suffering. Having worked the steps myself has woke up in me a new respect for humanity and helped me to see the needs of the world around me instead of the me routine. I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah, I was like, just woke up, went back to sleep. Am I connected to the vine? How do the 12 steps help me remain in Him?
These are the questions.
Are they?
Out of the book, isn't it?
I hope so.
Well, I just wanted everybody to know that you were reading the questions.
Oh, you had me going there, because,
Well, no, I just,
Mike is on the wrong
You did.
one.
you didn't tell them, and I wanted them to know you're reading the questions there, so.
I'll let them know.
Okay, now,
Hey, you guys, these are the questions out of the workbook. I don't know if you guys have one, but we do have some of those. If you're interested, get with Doug or Zach, or maybe Willie, and you probably get yourself one. And I use it on my phone because mine's so tattered and beat up and pages, it just looks, I feel like the mess that I was when I started working the book when it was all perfect. Now the book's the mess and I'm a lot better.
Mine's the same way.
I thought that when I looked at it last night, because someone was saying, just bring your book or I'll borrow mine. I was like, nah, I'm gonna bring it. Am I connected to the vine? How do the 12 steps help me remain in Him? By allowing me to see the truth of my life, even when I don't want to accept it right off. Shows me that I'm connected because I generally end up making the right decisions for the most part. Is my recovery attractive to other addictive, compulsive people because I become more loving rather than more condemning those who need my help? The only answer I had was yes, I believe so. What am I doing to reach out with Jesus' love? Staying healthy and being there for others in their time of need.
Yeah.
Any questions?
So what?
Since you got this light in my face.
You're giving me permission to ask
Open
a
that
question?
door.
Yeah.
So.
I do this every time. You know.
So, can you expound on what you believe the spiritual awakening is that you've had?
Doesn't it say somewhere in the Bible that it removed the scales from the eyes of that or something?
Well, that's when Saul was knocked off his horsey or donkey and yes, his ass, and fell on something too.
Yeah.
And so, and that's when those scales dropped off and then later became Paul. So, that does happen, and that would be an awakening, but we were asking about you, so are you implying that something?
Well, I was implying that through working the steps, it feels like I'm made aware to more of what's going on around me.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm being accepted in different areas of things in life that I wanted to be involved in, but didn't really think I had the worth to.
Good.
Is that?
Yeah.
I mean, but I see it now, like I see something different, like, and it trips me out. Sometimes I go back into the same thinking I normally do, going about my day, and I have to remind myself, no, dude, that's not how it goes. That's not how it works, man.
That stinking bacon, yeah, you don't want that.
Why? It worked for so long. What's going on?
Jennifer was hugging everybody, but she was gonna leave me out. What was that all about?
Well, nice to know I ran you off.
Yeah, dude, Doug.
See you later.
That's something to do with the speaker says.
She might have something important to do, I don't know. But ask that me that question one more time.
Tell your kids Merry Christmas for us, Jennifer.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.
She's gonna try to get home to see her kids.
Cool. That's the good thing.
Lord bless her.
Yeah.
Amen.
Yeah.
My question was, what you see now about this spiritual awakening for Tommy.
Yeah. I see that there's more to life than what I thought there was.
Awesome.
Even having not been using for so long, I was still trapped in like a certain way of living that just,
Wow, that's big.
I don't know,
Congratulations.
dude.
Congratulations.
And I told you one day, you're like, well, what are you most afraid of doing this? And I said, I still want to be kind of crazy. I don't want to lose my crazies. And I'm not being like psychotic stuff, just my strange, I like my weird and I don't want to lose it. And what I've noticed is it just gets sharper.
It gets what?
Sharper.
Sharper, all right.
Because it's not, the sick part of it's leaving,
Good.
but the healthy part of it stays.
Awesome.
That's what I see.
That's good, Tommy.
Yeah,
That's
thanks.
hopeful.
Yeah. So, Merry Christmas, everybody,
Early Merry Christmas, yeah.
and Happy New Year's. Thank you.
You're welcome. It's awesome, Tommy.
Yay. That was good.
Hey, Tommy, that was good.
Yeah, you know what happened up there?
Put the pressure on Zach, I want you to know.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I like to lay it on thick towards the end for him.
Yeah. Yeah, you did that picking this stinking topic or whatever. Thanks a lot for that.
I tried to change it like 5 times and Doug wasn't buying it.
Yeah.
I start my preparation on Monday.
All right, I'm gonna read the step because that's what I do. It's good to see everybody tonight. Merry Christmas.
That's a week from now.
Yeah, we're not gonna be here, so
That's right.
I'll be.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
I'll be.
Huh? I still don't hear you. It's all right. All right, step 12. Having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we try to carry their message to others and practice these principles in all of our affairs. So I remember when I first worked the steps, well, that's a long story, but I kind of thought this step wasn't, it was just the other ones were a lot more important than this one. And that may sound bad, but, if you really work the steps, they work you don't work them, I learned that pretty early on. I was just gonna fly through them, I thought, and I think I was like 2 or 3 months on step 1. I know I did like 4 or 5 months on step 4, and that was just the first time I worked them. But anyway, so I want to read the question here. Am I connected to the vine? How do the 12 steps help me to remain in Him? So, you may or may not know this, but there's a whole bunch of different 12 steps. Y'all aware of that?
I'm looking for them.
Like there's even a atheist version of the 12 steps. There's there's a native version. I forget the proper name for that. I think it's something wheel. Anyway, and
Those people had that one night here.
yeah.
I remember that.
So and I used to have them all, because the work that I do, I don't dictate what somebody wants. I want to offer them what they have. The information is good information. It changes your life. And but to me this question was, if I could reword the question, how do the 12 steps help me stay connected to the vine? And that kind of goes back to my first statement, was that if you really work these steps, they work you, and does anybody have an answer for that first question? How do the steps help you stay connected
Yeah, Tommy.
to
How many times I gotta answer it?
to God, or to Jesus, or whatever, however you put that? Whatever the vine is to you,
Gets me out of the way.
gets you out of the way.
Steps gets me out of the way, cause it's like, hey, let's dig around inside of you for like 7 months. And then just all of a sudden say, hey, look at everything out here, look at me. Wait, I was busy digging around in my own crap.
I really liked that whole, yeah, that was like, woo! What was that, Bill and Ted?
Yeah. I just watched that today. That's probably exactly where I got it from. But no, it's
Alright. Get you out of the way.
Yeah.
Well, get out of the way then.
Alright,
Stay out of the way.
so let's hit number 2 here. Is my recovery attractive to others? I'm sorry, is my recovery attracted to other addictive, compulsive people? I want to stop there. So is your recovery attracted to others? Is it attractive to others?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, in what way?
It helps me learn from him ideas and thoughts too. I might have problems with.
How is your recovery attractive to others?
In the same way his is to me, I guess. Hopefully.
Because you share it?
Could I share it?
Is that what you're saying, because you share your recovery with others?
Yeah, and everything I do in the recovery, I guess, they're watching me, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm hoping that it is.
I had a problem with that question.
Yeah, there's problems with that.
Like
I
you
had
said.
an answer.
Okay.
Because I'm not turning into a walking, talking, memorized 12-step program, like a robotic version,
Right.
It's actually helping me become a better human.
You keep talking around something that I'm trying
Does
to
that make
behave
sense?
and not get into tonight, but you keep talking about it.
Tommy didn't leave him out of it, so leave him
Oh.
out of it.
Then just, I'll go outside.
What, John?
The best way to show, the best way to affect people and show people is by your actions, not by your word, not by what you say, but what you do. It is the best way to show somebody that you're on the right track, because we're two-faced. We speak out of one side of our mouth good stuff, and then we do bad stuff. But if we do the good stuff, that will show the people that we're on the right track.
Zach, can I question? I learned from a newcomer stuff,
Yeah,
and hopefully they learn from me,
yeah, because everybody has something to offer, right?
right?
So, you guys are kinda, so I'm just gonna, I guess I'll just talk about it. Have you ever met that person in recovery that wants you to do exactly what they do in their recovery?
Uh-huh.
You ever met that person? Right? You know what I'm talking about?
Sometimes it's me.
So, I've got it figured out. You need to do what I do.
I'll try.
And recovery is not cookie cutter. But those people are all over recovery, where they want you to do what they do because they got it going on, right? They got it all figured out, right? And it is, but I heard kind of somebody mutter back there, it is some BS, isn't it? And so I think one of the biggest ways for your recovery to be attractive to others is in humility, to be humble. And like what Doug was saying, to be able to hear somebody else if it's their first 5 minutes, or they've been here 10 years. And we like to think, oh, well, that kind of stuff doesn't happen, but that stuff creeps in everywhere. And it's at church, it's in recovery meetings, it's at the workplace, it's here too. You've been around a while, you got it figured out. Everybody starts giving you some accolades like your leadership or something, and everybody's watching you, and staying humble is really, really important.
It is what it is.
And so I want to finish that because I kind of cut that in half. So, is my recovery attractive to other addictive, compulsive people because I am becoming more loving rather than condemning to those who need my help? So, here's a question I would want to ask. Do you have requirements on the people that you're willing to help?
Some of it.
Sometimes.
Okay, so now I'm not saying that you need to do anything unsafe or be in danger, okay, or risk your own recovery, but so what I struggle with, I'll tell you what I struggle with is, and I'm not against church or church people or any of that, but one of the biggest things I struggle with is I will gravitate towards somebody who is a mess in a ditch, but I have a hard time helping a stuck-up person in church who thinks I don't have anything wrong with them, and they're both hurting the same. It's just different.
Yes, it is.
They're different.
But that's one of my struggles as I'm talking about. That's something I have to watch in myself, is that, do you have requirements, or do you have, for those you help and how you help them? And, what am I doing to reach out with Jesus' love? I think again that we can, I'll tell you a story. I went on a mission trip to New Orleans, and I went twice, and there was a couple of guys on the trip, and this isn't a recovery thing, this was a church thing, and so we're driving on a bus from here to Louisiana, so it's a long trip, And there's multiple churches that came together to go on this trip. And we're gonna go, feed the homeless and stuff in New Orleans during Mardi Gras and all that stuff. We're gonna work on a church and different things like that. So, about the second stop we made, I noticed that these two fellas, everybody they saw in the gas station or the restaurant or whatever, they were trying to strike up a conversation and evangelize, which is great stuff, right? That's noble. That's really, really good. We're going to tell people about Jesus. And then we get back on the bus and talk about, how great they were for that, and like they were putting a notch on their belt. And it became pretty evident that it wasn't really about the people that they were talking to. It was about how it made them feel, or what they felt like it got them.
Like they were adding to their portfolio.
Yeah, like they were, storing up crowns in heaven or something, And so, I think that we have to check our motivation. When we do some of this stuff. I'm not saying it's bad to do it, but the truth is that God doesn't really move when it's not for the right reason. I'm not saying he can't touch that person, but it's usually in spite of you if your heart isn't for them. And then I think sometimes that we feel like it has to be really profound or something really, really big to show his love. And a lot of times it's in the little things. We don't have to be, know the Bible and have it memorized and, do all this great, wonderful stuff and, move in the power of the Spirit to show his love. I think that we don't count some of the little stuff that we do that really matters to God. That makes a difference. And if we don't realize that, then we can stop doing anything if it isn't big, or whatever our version of that is. And so, one of the things down here at SNL that I've loved the most is that you can't run us off. I've been down here for a long time. How old are we now, Doug?
This Palm Sunday will be 17 years.
17 years.
I think.
So I've been here 15, maybe a little more. And I've never ever seen us run anybody off or tell anybody they can't come back. Not ever. And we've had people yelling and screaming and throwing a fit and trying to take over the meeting, and we just walk them upstairs and try to chat with them, and if they get mad, we invite them back next week. I've had people spit on me out in the alley and all kinds of stuff, and it's you gotta have a place or a people that you can have a bad day, you cannot be doing well, and you can't run them off. And the truth is, when you're getting better, that's not always pretty.
No.
When I was getting better, I was, an ass is putting it lightly. But luckily I had some people, I was blessed with some people that I couldn't run off, that saw me in spite of my actions and my behaviors, and loved me anyway. And so, I'm not saying be in danger, I'm not saying be at risk, okay? But if you can be that for somebody, I'm not saying trade places, but they just can't run you off. I'm not saying that you're waiting on them hand and foot and you're calling them every day, but, when they call you, you do it, you try your best to answer and be there as much as you can. And so, I think that we make things a lot more complicated than what they are. You know, and I get it. We want to please him and make him happy and proud of us, you know, Jesus or whatever. And, but he's already proud of you. He already loves you. You know, you really can't mess it up. If that makes any sense. You know, you ever notice how easy it is to get in?
What?
So easy to get in, man.
It ain't to get out.
Now, if it's real, it'll cost you your whole life. You know, because he'll say, hey, you need to work on that. You know, he's gentle. He'll say, hey, you need to work on that. So like Tom was saying, you're gonna do some changing. But it's good. You know.
Ain't used to that.
But I think that we're way too hard on ourselves. We need to, like Jordan Peterson says, we need to become our own best friend. You know, because beating yourself up over a mistake you made is never going to produce righteous behavior.
Yep.
Right.
It's never happened. You're never going to win that argument with me. You cannot punish yourself enough to change your behavior. You may be thinking, well, if I spank my kid, eventually I learn not to do that.
Just learn how to spank their kid.
I mean, did you produce righteousness? Or did you produce behavior? You know, it's not, you know, you can't, I mean, just look at prison, you know. When I was locked up, when I was locked up, I got out, Tommy, I was all better, wasn't I?
Yeah, because you were institutionalized.
I was all better when I didn't make any more mistakes.
Yeah, he was
In
perfect.
prison.
I remember that.
Locked up prison or city county?
Everybody's lying now, so.
Yeah,
Locked up prison?
yeah.
Oh,
My point is
I
that
never went to prison.
you don't,
Went back.
what?
Did you really?
Yeah,
No, I didn't know that.
yeah,
1920?
15.
I could go back. Oh, yeah.
You're big enough to go.
Yeah, I could go
You
back.
go, you go.
You're big enough to go, boy. Anyway, I've taken way too much time.
Yeah.
And you got 5 minutes. Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas. Thank you. Thank you, Zach. Hey, give Zach a big hand. He's either been puny the last several weeks and other stuff, or he's been just avoiding us on purpose, right?
I was sick, you know that.
Oh, I know. I'm just picking on you. Oh, sorry. Thought maybe he was gonna sneak up behind me, you know. I used to be real bad about people sneaking up behind me.
That's right.
You still are.
You do hard time, Doug.
Do what?
Where'd you do your hard times at?
Every Saturday night.
Yeah.
Also,
One night at a time.
I've spent 25 years working recovery with people, so,
You know, that counts. Like,
yeah, you know, so.
we'll vouch for you.
And then it was working with church people for that, and so they were the hardest.
That was your
So,
prison sentence.
anyways,
they are the hardest. Actually, my first recovery meeting was with church people, but they didn't want to get real with their stuff, you know, and so it didn't work out very well. After 5 years, I stopped. And so here, we've been in Saturday Night Live for almost 17 years, and so I'm still
you're
Still
doing
working on
fine.
I still have people that's interested in dealing with their stuff.
I remember 17 years ago, I think it was your second meeting in that little sliver room over
Yes.
there. And I was all the way in the back, and I guess I was just motor mouth talking. I was talking to some girls.
Really?
Yeah.
You talked a lot then?
Yeah, and you go, and so you're up there talking, and you just stop everything. You go, you got something to say back there? Don't know. I remember that.
17 years later.
You caught my point, didn't you?
Did he
But you know what? I have loved Tommy all the way. I didn't like all your stuff, but I loved you, right?
I hope that's getting better though.
You are.
Would you like that, Tommy?
Anyway, hey, listen, if you guys don't shut up, I'm not gonna get to say anything.
That's all Zach had to say.
Yeah, I know. Anyway, hey, we're gonna be gone the next 2 Saturday nights, and we've never done this in all the years, but I decided that Christmas, even though times before we were here, but I've decided that we're gonna be off, you know, I've only been in the ministry like 45 years, and I've decided I'm going to take some time off on holidays, because it seems like every holiday I'm
Right here.
somewhere doing something, you know. So anyway, it's not that I don't want to be, but
And there are, I'm sure.
that is the way it is, and don't call me. Okay, I'm just telling you. Just because you got my phone number don't mean you have to use it. Call Zach. He wants to hear from
I
me.
did too. I got Tommy too.
Okay, hey, on the 9th, we'll be back here, the 9th of January. Chris is going to be reading the 12 steps.
That's right.
Okay?
Yeah.
And we need somebody to do step 1 and the reflection for that night. Do we have any quick volunteers?
I've got it because I already got it in my book.
Okay?
Or you need a quick
Now all of them.
Step or reflection, 2 different people. Which
One.
Step 1, you're gonna do the step. Who's gonna do the reflection? Anybody wants to do the reflection? Tom, you do the reflection?
Yeah, I already thought I was gonna do either one of those, but now that,
I don't have you on my paper.
cause I think, yes. Yes, I'll do it.
Figure that out.
No, the note part,
I totally understand.
the note part was for the thing I was thinking, and the yes part was for you.
He ain't gonna get
We
done.
can hear what you're thinking about.
Hey, would you get with Doug on the way home tonight and find out what it is he's gonna be doing on that step, so that you can tell me, so I can get it down on my paperwork?
I'm talking about the step. I'll be talking about it.
He meant the question.
So on the way home, we'll pick one, okay?
Okay, all right, good deal.
I
Let's-
looked at the house.
He's got one.
I got one on my phone.
Go ahead, we got it.
All right, good deal. All right, so anyway, we've had a very interesting meeting here. I hope you've enjoyed it. And it looks like, and before we get gone, you need to help John clean up, and John's the guy over there. By the way, we got a basket over there. If you have an offering that you'd like to place or give, that would go in that wicker basket over there on the table too. That's up to you if you like to do that. Not just, we do that every week. I just failed to say that earlier. So I am going to do a quick overview of that, and thank you, Tommy, for doing step 12 and allowing me to ask this question, because I had circled spiritual awareness, spiritual awakening, excuse me. I had that down. I wanted to talk about it, so I'm glad
Well,
that.
that kind of goes both together, awareness and awakening, because when you awaken, you become aware.
And it's a process. It's an ongoing development, because so anyway, I'm glad we were able to do that. My topic that I was going to share was about, like I already said, why sharing stories bring people together, and that the brain, our brain, I got a ring here for some reason. Our brain synchronizes up when we tell stories. All right, the research is, and I've already touched on it, was the story goes that they had a woman that could speak English and Russian, and she was very fluent in both languages. And they had her in an MRI machine, and someone told a story, in Russian and in English, and her brain. And when your brain is functioning in the different areas, it requires blood flow for nutrition and oxygen, and it lights up. And they watched her brain as the story was going on, and actually, excuse me, she actually was telling the story, okay? She was telling the story in the MRI machine, and they were recording it. And they watched her MRI while her brain would actually light up in the different regions as she was telling this story. And so then after she was done, they had people come in and listen to her story that was recorded and listen to it when they were in the MRI machine, and in English and in Russian. And when they heard it in English, their brain literally would light up in the same areas as her brain was, and in the same way, in the same timing as she was doing. So that indicated to them that there was a neural connection between the storyteller and the story listener, and that actually they used this terminology that they were literally in her brain because they were enthused and leaning forward, and connected to the story that was going on. Now, you can tell boring stories that nobody's really interested in, but we had several stories here tonight that you all were listening to, and you had different levels of connection, and you not also related it to your own personal experiences, correct?
Yep.
And that's the power of stories. But they also played the story when she spoke in Russian, and the people heard it. They heard the voice inflection, they heard the passion, but they didn't understand the words because they didn't know Russian. Does that make sense? And so their brain had some fluctuation in certain areas, but it wasn't in the same areas as the storyteller in Russian. And because they didn't understand the words, okay? And so when we tell our story, that affects people. In fact, they also said that there is an effect that happens, that oftentimes when you hear somebody's story that is penetrating and it really
Something clicks.
you actually live it, okay? Either you relate with it, or they tell it in such a way that you're able to engage in it.
Like a trigger.
Yes, and interruptions doesn't bother you as much, like people talking out and stuff like that. And so, I know. Zach said I was ornery tonight, and I don't know. He's probably wrong about that. But the point here is that oftentimes there are sometimes, and you tell me if this has happened to you. You've told an engrossing story, and then 2 weeks or a month later, someone came along and told your story like it was their story.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and it could be that they stole your story, but it could be that it engrossed their thinking so much, and they lived it vicariously when you told it, that they actually
Yeah.
believed that it was their story.
They were attracted to
And
it.
that's amazing, isn't it?
Yes, and
That's right.
and so that can happen, all right? And they don't really know it. Now, we've had people get in trouble telling stories that weren't their stories. I'm talking about in the media and stuff like that. And but there is neurological evidence saying that actually can happen, and it wasn't necessarily done for deceit. You follow me?
Yeah.
All right? And but what my point that I wanted to get out here, that your story is powerful, okay? And if you're telling your story, and go back to some of the stuff that Zach was saying here, we get wrapped up in performance. But if we literally do what the scripture that Tommy read about the commandment of love, that we love each other, and if we really operate in love, and we want to, as Zach was saying, if we really want to love somebody, it's not about getting a notch on your belt or changing somebody's life or making them be different than they are. But if you love them, and if you can use the power of your story, it affects them. And when they're affected, they're changed. Does that make sense? You want to say something?
Your story is the most powerful tool you have.
Absolutely.
And it compels the person you're talking to tell you their story.
Yes.
And it breaks down barriers and walls. I mean, it's because you get skin in the game.
Right.
If they know stuff on you, then it's okay if you know some stuff on me. Right?
And that's what we call building relationship. And when you're building relationship, then you have a degree of trust. Okay? And the fact of it is, to be serious, it's hard to build trust and to have trust. We can have simplistic trust, but oftentimes simplistic trust gets destroyed real early in life, right?
Yeah.
And so, but to really to have that heartfelt satisfaction in your life, we have to be able to grow in that area of trust. But it's hard to do if you're not willing to love. And see, when you love, if you're really interested in loving, then it's not what they can do for you, the reason why you're loving. That was your point, basically. It's not it's not that I'm doing something good for you, so I get something out of it.
Right.
Okay? You give, that's love, not expecting anything in return. Believing that something good will happen, okay? Because when you plant anything, it will produce something. But that doesn't mean that I necessarily benefit from it, but we do have the benefit of God and His Holy Spirit that says that anytime you do give, it will come back to you, right? Pressed down, shaken together, and overflowing. He will add to you. But if you do it with the motivation of getting, you've destroyed your seed.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
A lot of times I hear that and it's like I'm around to believe instantly that when I give it, I'm already going to automatically know I got a bunch more coming. And I've learned that doesn't work.
Well, it does, but oftentimes we want to quantify where it's coming from. And God's bigger than that, okay? I need to go to Doug, and because he had his hand up, and he was very nice to do that, so go ahead.
My understanding, me too, bye. My understanding, I may be wrong. Okay, if you tell me a story, if I'm attracted to it, I might learn from it. Is that?
Sure, it affects a good story, and if a person is connected mentally and emotionally, it changes you. It alters your brain, right?
Right.
It alters you.
Neuroplasticity.
Neuroplasticity, absolutely. Okay?
So I am right, 'cause I was confused.
Doug, you are so right. It's amazing.
30 minutes from now, I won't remember anything.
You will remember it because you're connected here.
I'm attracted.
So I went 5 or 6 minutes over,
I mean, you're gonna mock.
and I want to say, may the Lord bless you and keep you, and may His face shine upon you and give you His peace.
Amen.
Amen. Amen. And again, we won't be here next week or the week after that, but we'll be back here on the 9th.
You're gonna box tonight.
And maybe we'll feature Doug number 1 against Doug number 2.
Yeah,
So,
there you go, there you go.
Merry Christmas. Take care of yourself. Make healthy choices, and you